How do you know if your husband actually loves you? There's a very important point that I want to make here, but I make it a little bit later, so just bear with me for a few minutes and wait for it. So this woman is married to a man. He's extremely affectionate, loving, writes love notes, thoughtful picnics in the park, all these kinds of wonderful things that a lot of women really want their husbands to do. He does all that stuff. He's great with it, expressing love and very passionate. And then he abuses her, is an abusive partner. And she stays around for a long time because, he was such a good lover. He was so romantic. He did all these wonderful gestures. So eventually, she breaks up with him because of the abuse, but she misses all the romantic, loving things that he did. So then she dates another man. And the other man that she dates never is abusive to her, but he is not romantic at all. He does no love notes, no picnics, no loving gestures. He isn't telling her how much he loves her all the time. In fact, he doesn't say much of anything. Now, she felt like the first man loved her, and she feels like the second man doesn't love her. So the question is, does the second man love her, or did the first man love her, or did they both love her? The first man did not love her enough to stop being abusive, hence the reason why she left. And the second man does not love her enough to display romantic gestures. Now, this is one way of looking at this, but there are other ways of looking at this. This is the important point I was talking about. A lot of this is just training. That's not maybe the best word for it, but the first man did not have control over his temper and became abusive. But he was trained really well. Somewhere in there, he learned how to display romantic gestures to women in ways that they really liked. Maybe he learned that from his mom. Maybe he learned that from his dad. Maybe he learned it from watching romantic comedies. Maybe he researched it online. Maybe a previous partner taught him this sort of thing. Be like, look, this is what I really like. I want you to do this kind of stuff. And he did it, and he found that it helped his relationships stay together despite him being abusive. Maybe he was trying really hard because he was worried that his abuse would scare away people, and he didn't want to be alone. So maybe he was really motivated to try to do all these really romantic things because he did love the person, but had a problem with being able to control his temper. And what about the second man? Well, the second man, possibly, he loves the woman even more than the first man. But the issue here may be a little different. The issue may merely be a matter of training. Maybe he watched his mom and dad, and they never did anything like this. They never did any romantic gestures, and maybe he never really watched any romantic comedies or didn't understand why they were doing this kind of stuff, thought it was something sort of weird and didn't really get it, never really understood it, was in a previous relationship, never learned it from that relationship, and doesn't understand the point of it. In other words, maybe he just had really bad training. Something you need to recognize is that humans have some inborn traits in them. We have a desire for food, and we have a desire for warmth, and a desire for companionship and intimacy. There are some generalizations, stereotypes that you can make between men and women that don't always hold true, but generally they're pretty consistent. And making this generalization, women, more often than not, want romance. They want love notes and dates and courting and I love yous and hugs and kisses and snuggling and this sort of thing. It helps them feel secure and loved and cared for. And making a generalization, a lot of men like those same things as well, but they usually want bedroom intimacy a lot. And women also want bedroom intimacy, assuming that their partners knows what they're doing and they've had good experiences in the past. And they feel safe and comfortable with their partner, of course. But I've observed in a lot of people that I work with that it's almost backwards, men and women. And I'll explain what I mean. For a lot of women, if they're getting the courting, the loving, the kissing, the love notes, things like this, then they are much more interested in the bedroom intimacy. And for a lot of men, and this is a generalization, it seems like it's the other way around. It's like they are interested in the courting and the dating and the romantic things and love notes and all this kind of stuff after the bedroom intimacy. And I've noticed this does not hold true for everyone, but I've noticed that for a lot of men that I've worked with, when the bedroom intimacy dies off, they suddenly stop all of the courting and the romantic gestures and the loving and the dates and all this kind of stuff. And then consequently, the woman is not getting the courting and the dating and the loving and the romantic, all the stuff that she likes. And then she shuts down the bedroom intimacy more. And then he gets the signal the bedroom intimacy shut down. So he stops giving more of that stuff, and it just spirals down until finally neither of them are doing any of those things. And they're sort of like roommates that are resentful towards each other, and they end up getting a divorce. If your bedroom intimate relationship is not good, your marriage is probably going to be not good. And if your romantic, loving relationship is not good, then your bedroom life is probably not going to be good, and that will make your marriage not good. For this reason, I broke down marriages into 4 types of relationships, and each one of these relationships needs to be managed separately. Number 1 is friendship. Friendship is a type of love. So often when people become married, they stop treating each other like friends. They become critical and harsh, and there's sort of a familiarity there that sometimes results in not treating each other very good. They stop treating each other like friends. Like if you had a friend that was like criticizing you all the time, they probably wouldn't be your friend for very long. Friends enjoy each other's company because they make each other feel good. They lift each other up. They see each other in positive, good ways. They're nice to each other. They want to spend time with each other. They're looking for opportunities to spend time with this other person, and they try to actively understand them. And if you've got friendship in place, your marriage is going to be a lot better. The second type of love in the relationship that I list is romantic love. And this is not sex. This is hugs and kisses and walking by the lake and the sunset and the roses and the I love yous and the notes and the cuddling and the snuggling and the taking out to eat and all this kind of stuff like this. Stuff that friends may or may not do. It's a separate kind of relationship that's characterized by a certain set of activities and certain feelings. A person can be romantic with somebody without being friends with them, and they can be romantic with someone without having any sex with them, which then leads us to the third kind of love in a marriage relationship, and this is your sexual relationship. Pretty much all marriages that don't have good sexual relationships don't last, and the people report being miserable in them. That's one of the only uniquely specific relationships to marriage. When you're married to somebody, it's pretty much just generally understood you're not going to sleep with other people, period. So if there's no intimacy in the marriage, people get divorced so that they can find someone that they can have that kind of intimate relationship with. And some tips about this is figure out what you're doing and try to make it enjoyable for the other person. I have a marriage course specifically on that if you want to look it up. Click on the link in my bio. Now, the last type of love here that's developed in a marriage relationship is the familial love, the family love, whereas we're family members. And if people are together for a long time, they can develop this. You're not always friends with your family members. You're certainly not typically romantic with your family members, and hopefully you're not sexual with your family members. The one exception is the person that you're married to. And in this case, you develop, hopefully, over time, a family-like bond. This oftentimes is strengthened by having children. This is where, the people that show up at your funeral, the people that would take care of you if you got cancer, your family it goes deeper than friendship. It goes deeper than everything. This is like the people that you rely on. And hopefully you're able to develop that in your marriage relationship. And that really becomes the capstone, the greatest thing, the foundation for your marriage. Anyways, there's a million more things I could say about this. If you want to hear what I have to say about it, check out my marriage courses. There's a link in my bio. Good luck.